Good evening and welcome to UTV Live. There are calls tonight for radical health service changes after it was revealed that £7 million was spent treating cardiac patients outside of Northern Ireland last year. The British Medical Association is now accusing the government of shocking incompetence. Jane Lockery reports.
If you need to have heart surgery in Northern Ireland, there's a chance, a very good chance, that the operation could take place in London or Dublin. According to the Chest, Heart and Stroke Association, nearly a third of procedures, that's 440 out of 1,430, had to be carried out in England or in Dublin last year. Each operation in the south cost the Department of Health £17,000, while procedures in London cost £14,000. The Chest, Heart and Stroke Association says it warned the government as long ago as 1992 that Northern Ireland needed to carry out up to 1,500 cardiac operations every year. But it says its warnings went unheeded. The British Medical Association has gone even further. It's accusing the Department of Health of shocking incompetence.
It's almost impossible to put a figure on it, but an outrageous amount of money which could be directed at patient care is being spent within the private sector, is being spent on sending patients abroad for treatment, which could so well be done at home for the benefit of our patients and creating employment of frontline staff.
How would you describe the current situation?
Shocking incompetence attributable to bad management and failure to listen to doctors.
The Department of Health says this criticism is unfair, as £7 million has been poured into cardiac services over the past 3 years.
To get the waiting list down as quickly as we have indeed had to send patients away. But it's our long-term intention that the cardiac needs of the Northern Ireland population should be dealt with locally in local hospitals.
Our plan is stepwise each year. We are intending to exceed the targets each year and build slowly but steadily. I think it might be 4 or 5 years before we have the capacity to do all patients requiring heart surgery.
The BMA says it's also concerned about the human cost to patients, as it's very difficult for people to go through heart surgery away from home and the support of their loved ones. Jane Lockery, UTV Live, Belfast.
Peter Robinson says he and his wife have become victims of the Tory sleaze department. He was speaking after stories appeared in a number of tabloid papers claiming their joint income was over £500,000. From Stormont, our political editor Ken Reid reports.
Over the weekend, the London tabloids had Peter Robinson and his wife Iris in their sights. The target was their joint income from jobs at Westminster and Stormont. With MPs' expenses a hot issue, the First Minister defended himself and his wife.
I could reduce expenditure tomorrow if the people of East Belfast want me to. I can close advice centres. I can reduce the service that I have. I don't believe that's in the interest of East Belfast, nor does my wife believe it's in the interest of the people of Strangford. This is a Conservative sleaze department that is putting it out. Very deliberately being put out by the Tories on behalf of the Ulster Unionists. We know where it comes from. We know the kind of people that propagate it, people like David McNarry.
Mr McNarry was watching from the Great Hall balcony. He denied his party and the Conservatives were to blame for the tabloid stories.
I have not spoken to a Conservative about this. My information is based on what Joe Public reads. Exactly the same. My reaction, I think, is representative of their reaction, in that this just is an outrage.
So the row over the expenses issue continues to bubble, and there's no doubt that the whole matter of double jobbing is continuing to rise up the political Richter scale. Ken Reid, UTV Live, Stormont.
Pensioners held a protest in Belfast city centre today, calling for an increase to the basic state pension. The demonstration was one of 50 held across the UK and was timed to coincide with a small rise in what the government pays them. Some older people's groups are also calling for the link between average earnings and the state pension to be brought back. It's emerged that a failed plan to sell and lease back government office buildings has cost taxpayers almost £13 million. It had been envisaged that the project would have led to the sale of 65 government buildings to private companies, who would then lease them back to the civil service. Finally for now, sport, and 24 hours after winning his first ever European Tour event, Michael Hoey is back in Belfast. The 30-year-old won the Portuguese Open after a dramatic playoff against Spain's Gonzalo Fernandez Castano.
Tired but very happy. That just about summed up the feelings of Michael Hoey this afternoon. The 30-year-old back in Belfast is a European Tour winner for the first time in his career. The replica trophy may be small, but the significance of the victory, huge.
It's a tough game of golf, you know, when if you're not holding putts and if you're working on your swing, and you know, you spend so much money every week out there. But you know, I had a couple of wins on Challenge, and that just spurred me on, and getting tour card at the end of last year with seeing what Graham's done and what Rory's done and Gareth as well this year, so thought I can step up and try and give my best.
It was nail-biting stuff in his final round, but a blistering 66 left him on a tie with Spain's Gonzalo Castano. It took until the third playoff to clinch a momentous victory.
And Michael Hoey's done it. Brilliant. The 30-year-old from Belfast has won for the first time.
It was my day, hold all the putts, and in the playoff I managed to just keep getting it up and down, and it's my week. The conditions kind of suited me, I felt, at the start of the week, but just to win, I mean, it's not going to sink in for a while.
One of the main consequences is that Hoey is now exempt from qualifying for top tournaments for the next 2 years. It's a step into the big time.
Yeah, I've got a new category, so I get into the big ones like Wentworth, Loch Lomond, all those ones that I've always wanted to play in, and that makes a big difference and should get paired with, you know, the best players. So I mean, I just can't wait for those events.
Adrian Logan talking there to golf champ Michael Hoey. Well, that's the latest news and sport from UTV. Frank's got the weather forecast next. From all of us here, a very good evening to you. Bye-bye.
The UTV weather is sponsored by Progressive Startup Savings Account for Children, getting the savings habit up and running.
Well, today's rain marked the start of an unsettled week with more wet and windy weather expected at times. There'll be clear spells for a while tonight, temperatures dipping to 3 or 4 degrees. More showery outbreaks moving in from the west later on. The showers may merge into a longer spell of rain in the northeast at first tomorrow, but that will move away to leave bright spells and showers. There'll be a strong south to southwest wind. Little change is expected for the afternoon. A mix of sunny spells and blustery showers. A top temperature round about 10 or 11 degrees. And as for the outlook, heavy rain will clear very early on Wednesday to leave sunshine coming through. There'll be some showery activity as well. I'm afraid much of Thursday will be cloudy with rain or showers. Generally speaking, it's much more unsettled than we would like. You're up to date. The Weather Watching Camera, the Weather Watchers on the new look UTV Live every night. Join me for that. From me, Frank Mitchell, for tonight. Bye-bye.
The UTV weather is sponsored by Progressive, your homegrown building society.
24-hour weather is available now online at u.tv/weather or on U 105.8 FM.